Hi, I'm Paul from West Country Wanderings, and I'm super excited about being here today. Now, the eager-eyed amongst you will be familiar with the view across there. That is where I did the Slapton vlog. It was the second one, if you remember. Came up here, we had a look over at Slapton. That down there is Beesands. So that's where we're going to be heading today. We're going to walk past a quarry, which has an interesting history, uncovering some Second World War remains, exploring the beach and the fishing history of Beesands, and if we have time we'll be going on to explore the ruined village of Hallsands as well. So please, why not come and join me and look at the wonderful delights on this beautiful day here in South Devon in glorious sunshine. I had a slight mishap when I filmed the street vlog yesterday. When I was climbing back up from the beach, I was getting rather hot, so I took my jumper off and I did a piece to camera. If you remember there, I did a bit by the bridge over that lovely stream, because there was quite a climb coming back up from the hill. And when I got back to the car, I thought I'd put the jumper in my camera bag, camera rucksack, and it wasn't there. So somewhere en route on the southwest coast path there, you might find a jumper. I was too tired to go back and retrieve it, and I had other things to do. So yeah, never mind. It wasn't one of my more expensive fluffy woolly jumpers for winter. It was a lighter one, but still slightly annoying. But hey ho, we move forward. And as I say, I'm really excited about being here today. Beesands is one of my favourite locations. It's noticeably quieter, or usually is, than Slapton. It does get a bit busy in the peak summer months, but not as busy as what Slapton does, or should I say the beach at Slapton. So it's always worth coming here for a quiet walkabout. We've got a great view over Beesands from this location, where to the back of the quarry, we'll see what we can look at that in a minute, and I'll tell you more about that quarry. But as I mentioned in the Slapton vlog, we looked over at Beesands. Beesands has its own ley. It's actually called Widdicombe Ley. It's replete with its own bird hide. I don't know if it's open today because of COVID, but we'll certainly go down there, have a little explore around it. It's a beautiful little ley. Obviously it's quite a bit smaller than Slapton's ley, but it's still a very important wildlife sanctuary and nature reserve for all of the wildlife here in South Devon. I can also see the crane that they're still doing work on the sea defences here at Beesands, and I mentioned that it does get problems with flooding, just like it does at Torcross at Slapton Sands as well. So we'll have a look and see how they're progressing with the sea defences there as well. This is Beesands Quarry. It's a bit of a nature haven. Fantastic bird life here. I'll try and find out the year that it closed. I seem to remember that there was a little port down here. Obviously, when this was open, the road transport was, well, Beesands would have been really cut off from the rest of Devon, so communication very poor. Predates railways, of course, and you couldn't, because of the terrain here, build a railway to this location. So obviously all the stone quarried here would have had to have been transported by the sea. Now the beach at the Beesands is now becoming not just visually but also audibly into view. Now, I mentioned being really positive and pumped up about coming here today. I love this location. The reason I mention that is because when I did the filming on Sunday, which was the first part of the street vlog, when I was looking for the village, I was not feeling too well, and I don't mean physically. I do struggle with my mental health, and I have done for many, many years, and actually since I was 14. And although this is not about to become into a lifestyle or a channel all to do with mental health, the reason I mention it is because since lockdown, a lot of people have been struggling with their mental health, people that have never struggled with their mental health before. And I can relate to that. I obviously know what it's like to have full-on depressive episodes when you just feel so down, you cannot get out of bed or physically do anything at all. I've been there. In actual fact, it has affected my career in the past. That's the reason why I'm not doing management now, is because of my mental health. And also to let you know that in 2004 I was diagnosed with having autism, and that's something I do speak about quite a bit on my Twitter account. I will be returning to this subject. I'm not going to mention too much more about that yet. It does affect me in a number of ways, but I'm going to speak to you more about that on a vlog I'm going to do over towards Exeter. So I'll leave that there for the moment. So if you want to find out an interest in that, please subscribe to the channel. I think you might find that interesting. It's to do with the Victorian age, and it's to do with a particular subject which is very close to my heart. So have a look at that when it comes up. So I'm currently doing research into that. Obviously, lockdown restrictions, travel restrictions have prevented me from doing anything with that further, but I will be doing that hopefully over the next couple of weeks. Now, I've just come to this spot here because when I came here on a walk previously, I found something and I wasn't sure what it is. So come over here, I'll take you and we can have a look together. And it's just up here on the left. Here it is. Now, from the outside, when you first see it, it looks like it's something to do with a bus shelter. And there is a gate here which predates it. And this is a separate footpath this direction. But yeah, this is a Second World War gun attack placement facility. It was used on active service. I'm not sure if the Americans that were based at Slapton used it here as well. But it overlooks, there is like a pillar box, and see if I can see that. I think it might be a bit overgrown, but we'll see if we can see the front of it. And it obviously overlooks the South Devon coast out towards Start Point and the Lifehouse there. So it would have been a strategic placement here, gun placement, for defending this particular coast from any invasion during World War II. Now looking at the outside of the gun emplacement, and unfortunately it looks like that the slit which would have been here at the front has indeed been sealed up, whether to protect it from giving it some stability to stop it falling down, I'm not too sure. There is a substantial wall underneath it which obviously is not related to the Second World War, that predates that, but on the shelter at the top, that lookout there would have been looking out to sea. As I say, we have Start Point over that way. We're over towards Dartmouth in that direction. Now we're down at the beach at Beesands. We're at the far end. The Ley's in the middle, so we'll have a look at that there. And I love this table here. It's placed just above the beach. Perfect spot. Just have a bit of a breather. Sip of water. I say the other end of the beach is down there, and that's where we're going to be heading. Then when I finished doing the street vlog yesterday, I was watching one of the channels that I subscribe to. It's actually a really interesting guy who is a photographer, actually a landscape photographer. Sometimes he uses film, A couple of reasons I mention that is I think I've mentioned previously that I used to have an Olympus OM30 and I used to shoot on Kodachrome. He mentioned that the last roll of Kodachrome was produced by Kodak in 2009, and one of the top National Geographic photographers got this last reel of film. Now this actually, I watched a bit of this. It was a clip from the National Geographic channel. It actually made me feel quite sad in a way, because that film is no longer made, and even if you get your hands on a roll of Kodachrome from eBay or something, you won't be able to process it, because the last place to process Kodachrome closed, I think it was in 2010. There was one little lab, which I think I'm right in saying was in Phoenix in America, just this little lab, and the reason why you can't process it in any other lab is because it is a particularly intensive process to process Kodachrome film, and it uses specific Kodak chemicals which are also no longer manufactured. And it was just quite poignant seeing that how we're now in a digital era. Obviously I'm now shooting this on a digital camera, whereas previously I'd have been using film, and that changes part of the process of how photography it's looked at in terms of its permanence. I think the permanence of it, because obviously these days you can grab a mobile phone, take an image and upload it to Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, whatever, in a matter of seconds. And part of the creative process, I think, is lost within that, because when I used to use Kodachrome, I used to you'd get the film, and it wasn't cheap. I seem to remember it was about, and this is going back to maybe the early 1990s, but certainly in the 1980s, I'm sure it was around £6 or £7 then. I don't know what that would be in today's inflation, probably looking around £20. That would give you just 36 shots. And I know that included the developing fee. It would be the same if you had colour print film, probably the same amount by the time you've paid for the actual colour print film and then had gone to the chemist or whatever, the photo lab, you would be paying around that to have 36 what were they, 6x4 inch prints. And I think that losing that connection with the process, because you can take an image, immediately delete it, take another image, it changes something. When you've only got 36 shots, it concentrates the mind. Now what this National Geographic photographer did, this was pre-COVID, he's a well-known photographer, I'll drop his name in. He went around the world thinking, what are the last 36 images that I can take using Kodachrome? Now, photographers loved Kodachrome film. I still yearn for it. It produced colours which were very, very vivid, but not oversaturated. They had a naturality to them, but they were just gorgeous colours. And I don't think digital comes quite close to doing that. So I'm just swapping my hands around, just changing direction here. Yeah, I don't think that digital comes quite close to that. I know everything is very, very sharp these days with this particular camera. The image sensor is 24 megapixels, which is pretty standard these days, so you get very, very clear images, whether it's still or video. And with Kodachrome, there was a lifelike colour, and they looked back on this video at some of the images that were taken, and they are quite extraordinary images that were taken on this film. A lot of family memories were on slides, and obviously people did, I certainly remember doing slideshows, and I love doing that. And obviously putting still shots that I take onto YouTube is like the modern equivalent of doing a slideshow, adding music to it and titles, etc. I used to make up my own titles I think I used like letraset and pieces of letters, and would take an image of it on a black background and make a slide of it, because you could buy slides and put those up. The reason I mention this long story is a bit of an arc. The reason I mention all of this is because the photographic process has indeed changed. I still love photography. I love doing this, taking images, being outside. I love landscapes, I love being in nature. But as I say, the process has changed, and I think as part of that is a bit of a shame. The reason I mentioned it is kind of to looping around what I was talking about with mental health. There is a benefit to photography in terms of our mental health. It doesn't matter whether you've got expensive equipment. I don't have particularly expensive equipment. I haven't got like loads of lenses or anything. And it's actually being out and doing something that's creative. It doesn't have to be photography. Doing something creative like painting, writing, poetry, they're all really good benefits to our mental health. And this YouTube vlogger was talking about he has done it for a number of years and how he finds it really beneficial, and it's something that I kind of got out of the habit of doing photographs properly. I did use my mobile phone, and I had a little small, not the OM30, another Olympus camera, but it wasn't a proper camera. Yeah, so no matter what creative process you do, what form of hobby, it's all good for your mental health. But obviously being out in the open air, because we've been in lockdown, we've had quite some miserable months with the winter. The physical nature of it is all good as well for improving our physical well-being. So I love to walk. I do get a benefit from that. I will be returning to this subject. I will touch on it now and again. If you've got any thoughts on that, I'd love to hear from you, and drop a comment below. A wonderful hawthorn here. In that field over there, absolute mass of Canada geese. You can probably hear them in the background as well. Just going to make our way down to the bird hide down this way. It's a lot less well known, this ley, compared to Slapton, presumably because it's some distance from the nearest main road. That's why I actually parked the car in the Torcross end and walked over the hill to come here today. The road into Beesands, well, there's actually two roads that you can use. Both of them, you either have a choice of really twisty narrow lanes, or a long narrow stretch of beach, which is the beach road, which is even narrower, even though it's a bit straighter. So because I thought it's such a nice day and people are getting out and about more, I thought I'd leave the car over the other side and walk across the hill, which is more delightful. I've got two green finches there, just on the hawthorn. There's one just over there. In South Devon, in terms of bird life, one of the other birds is famous for, I think I may have mentioned this before, is the sorrel bunting, and I do believe it's the only place. Oh, nice view across the ley there with the blue light just fetching it, and the reeds on the right. Yeah, it's confined to the coastal areas of the South Hams between Plymouth and Tor Bay. I'm not aware that it's currently found anywhere else in the United Kingdom. I have seen a few. It'd be great to capture them. I don't have the kit for full-on wildlife photography. I can give you a flavour. Something I will hope to do as we go on with this channel is extend see what I can get, so we can get some better shots of the wildlife, but I hope I give you a flavour of what it's here on this lovely nature reserve. And here we are in this wonderful hide. It's got good facilities here with the windows you can open and close. So it's better than the one at Slapton in that regard. where they're permanently closed, or the one at the island bay where they're permanently open. So you've got the best of both worlds here. Some great identification charts provided by the Devon Birds Project at devonbirds.org if you want to find some more information with that. And there's an information pack book where you can write in sightings inside there. I've even provided a bag for litter for people that have brought their takeaway teas and coffees. Superb, really, really good facilities. Is the sea defence work that's currently going on here. Obviously it's all fenced off to protect somebody slipping into it, but it's good to see that it is going ahead. I think it's been mooted for a few years. It's finally been taking place. That's the reason that the shutters are up there over the slipway. It's expected to be another very high tide again here tonight. Getting more evidence of what is going to be coming here later on today. Actual fact, I was at Walton Giffard yesterday, and I didn't vlog it, but I took some still shots which I put on my Instagram channel. The tide there, I've never seen it so high. Walton Giffard is on the road between Kingsbridge and Plymouth, and it sits on the River Avon or River Norn, and it's tidal. The sea defences here were done in April of 1993, and it's good that they're being extended to the lower part of the village here. Now looking at Beesands from the opposite direction, I'm heading towards Hallsands, and I always find this path sign here slightly perturbing. We have Hallsands 3/4 mile to the left, and we have a permissive path to Hallsands on the right. Okay, so you pay some money and takes your choice. We're going to head off on the coast path. On the first part of the vlog about the village of Street, I did a bit of rural exploration and was trying to uncover the mystery of the village of Street Undercliff. Now, though I can't be certain, I think I found out the location of where it may have been. Now, that village disappeared through natural forces, through the weather, storm, hence why they're doing the old storm war sea defences back down there in Beesands. Clearly, Street Undercliff sadly had no sea defences. What we're going to look at now is a village that wasn't washed away purely by natural means, but by man-made means. Now, some of you may already know the story of Hallsands, and indeed it's a bit of a tragedy. It just gets me thinking that what man's influence is on the landscape, sometimes it's good. We can recreate a wetland like I saw the other day at Walton Giffard. Sometimes it's very much for the bad, and in the case of Hallsands, it was certainly the latter. As our first glimpse of Hallsands, the village is divided into two, North Hallsands and South Hallsands. Again, at this point here we have coastal erosion, and they've moved the coast path further inland with this fence here to stop people straying too close. North Hallsands is the residential area closest to the camera, and South Hallsands, which is the ruined village that we're interested in, is immediately beyond it. This just illustrates here that erosion is ongoing, and it looks like this has gone previously. I would say that originally there was a building on that promontory due to how the slate is stacked. I can't get too close to the edge, but as you can see it's completely fallen away and the sea has simply reclaimed it. There we have, that's Hallsands Beach. Now sadly, because of further erosion, I can't proceed further at this point. So here we are at South Hallsands on the night, the 26th of January 1917. Hallsands simply ceased to be. The fishermen that lived here lost their livelihood. They had to relocate to the towns of Kingsbridge, Dartmouth, Plymouth, Torquay. They lost all the connections. Here is a map of the residents: Mitchell, Lynn, Mingo, London Inn Stables, Lynn, Post Office, Pretty John, Patey, Login, Mission Room, Trout, all disappeared on the night of the 26th of January 1917. To never to be returned. Now you can see there that the village was built on a wave-cut platform. That was formed when the sea levels were higher, some 120,000 years ago. But why did the village wash away? Why was mankind involved? To uncover the story of Hallsands is to uncover the history of the Royal Navy. Obviously we have links to Dartmouth just over the way, not far from where I live. But down here, what happened was that the Royal Navy wanted to expand the docks, Royal Naval Docks at Devonport in Plymouth. And in order to do that, they needed sand and shingle to reinforce their sea defences and to use that also for construction of the new dry dock areas. So in the previous years, a year or two before 1917, 14, 15 and 16, dredging operations began in the village down here. It had a shingle beach, a small shingle beach, and they dredged that away, thinking it unimportant for the inhabitants of this lovely village. And sadly, unbeknownst to them, this shingle beach was Hallsands sea defences. It was the sea defences like we've just seen in Beesands, and as you can see, erosion still continues here at Hallsands today. And sadly, that link of shingle being removed was the last defence that the Hallsands had to protect itself from the elements. Now, as one person said over here, the beach went to Devonport and the cottages went to the sea. Very, very fitting end. That concludes the vlog of Beesands and Hallsands. I hope you enjoyed the tour today. I'm Paul from West Country Wanderings, and I'll be back soon with another tour of this wonderful part of the United Kingdom in the southwest of England. Until then, take care of yourselves. all the best, look after yourselves, and see you here soon. Dad, I found Miranda.